more love, more joy, everything.
It's inspired young people.
Inspiration comes from within you. When you clear out the garbage that's in your mind, you then create space for something better, more beautiful to come in.
Let's have life and have it more abundantly.
I say yes.
It's like taking a workshop. I get to be in my pajamas.
We have a very active imagination, which is why it's important to learn how to harness it and then point it in the direction you want to go.
I listen to your show every day.
It's time now for Living Your Inspired Life with Susan Burrell. Susan is no-nonsense, inspirational, motivational, and fun.
This is positive talk radio.
Practical wisdom for everyday life.
It's a gift you give yourself.
Now, here's Susan.
And welcome to Living Your Inspired Life. You're listening to News Talk 1590 KVTA. And I want to encourage you to go to our website, livingyourinspiredlife.org, so that you can tune in and tune up and develop your power perspective. So I'm really excited. Over the next couple of weeks, we are going to be having filmmakers on our show because there is a brand new film festival that's going to be happening the end of October in Santa Barbara. It's called Awakened World International Film Festival and Retreat, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But that's going to be starting October 27th through the 30th of this year. And so we decided we're going to have some of these filmmakers on because the messages that all of the filmmakers are bringing to this festival are things that we speak about on Living Your Inspired Life all the time. So we're going to have two filmmakers on today, and the first one is a woman. Actually, she's the subject of a film. The film is called Messages of Hope, and I want to welcome Suzanne Giesemann. Suzanne, thank you for joining us.
Hi, Susan. Thank you for having me on your show.
So I just want to talk about you just a little bit, so everybody kind of knows a little bit about you, and then I want to delve deep into the actual journey of your life because Messages of Hope is about that. So Suzanne is a retired U.S. Navy commander, and you were serving as a special assistant to the Chief of Naval Operations and the Joint Chiefs of Staff on 9/11. So that to me right now, I got chills down to my bones, Suzanne. And again, I said earlier to you, but I want to again thank you for your service to our country, especially on that day. But then something happened after. There was a life event that occurred in your life, and now you have become a writer, a spiritual teacher, and a medium. Okay, so that's like two completely opposite ends of the spectrum. And you must spin every day in your head going, what happened to me?
Exactly, because it was completely unexpected. People who know me now in my role as an evidential medium and metaphysical teacher say, surely you had some idea you would be doing this work at this time in your life, and I had zero idea. I didn't even know there was a spirit world, and now I communicate with those who have passed on a daily basis.
Wow. Okay, that has got to be strange. So let's talk about the film. Why was the film made? Why it's a documentary about you, but so why did you decide it needed to be done, or did somebody come to you and say, we need to tell your story?
It's beautiful. I had been praying in meditation every morning, please help me to share these messages of hope with people on a grand scale, and I had to surrender to see how that would unfold. The old me would have been one to set goals, but I've learned that those on the other side can get a lot more accomplished than I can here. And the next thing you know, I gave a reading to a woman who had lost her husband, and I didn't know anything about her or her husband, but he came through so clearly with beautiful evidence that she left there sobbing, just a changed woman. She didn't really understand what mediumship was. She had no hope that she would ever hear from her husband again, and I gave that to her. Little did I know, her son, Chris Lavelle, was a filmmaker looking for a story of someone who had had an unexpected career change. And the next thing you know, they came to me, Chris and his mother Ann, and said, we'd like to feature you in a documentary about your story. Would you be willing to do that? And I just raised my eyes towards the heavens, and I said, thank you. Thank you.
I have chills, just that little bit, Suzanne. So,
yeah.
So why don't you share with everybody a bit about your journey from having been a commander in the Navy and Joint Chiefs of Staff and to now, just to give a...
I'm still very organized. I still have the left brain side of me, but back then I was very much by the book and extremely organized, to the point where the head of the entire United States military, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, bypassed the entire selection process for an aide and came straight to me and said, "Would you like to be my aide?" He asked me to fill that position as aide to him, and it was such an honor. But as I tell people now, to sit with people one-on-one who've lost loved ones and to show them how very much they're still with you, that's an honor on a whole different level.
It must be odd, having served in a little bit of the research I did about you. You had always wanted to be in the armed forces, so it must be strange to then communicate with people that have passed on. And okay, here's my thing, Suzanne. I'm having a little bit of the issue about the military and certainly what's happened since 9/11 and all the different wars and states of alert that we're on. And then the people that have crossed over, that gave their lives on 9/11, that's how I see it, in service to the greater good of the world. Can you speak a little bit to that?
I think that's why this work is so important, because when you can give evidence that there is a greater reality and that reality has, everyone in it has such an awareness of the fact that love is the only thing that matters and that love will heal everything, we bring that awareness into our world here. And it changes people at this level. And that's what we need to do, even if it's one person at a time, is to show people that we're all connected, that there really is only one mind, one spirit, and we're part of that. And the only reason that we continue to have wars and conflict is because of the people who have ignorance of that fact. Because if everyone truly understood who we are and what we are, beautiful souls here and now who walk in two worlds at once, we could never hurt each other.
Okay, so what do you mean by walking in two worlds at once?
My latest book is called Wolf's Message, and it's about a young man on the other side who left proof before he passed that all of us are souls, and I use the word proof deliberately. He left proof that we are souls, exist at a soul level in the non-physical dimension, and we're also human beings in this physical world, although most of us are just not aware of that fact because we're so focused in this world for the learning that it affords us. I walk in both worlds deliberately. I can turn it off when I tap into the unseen reality. This young man named Wolf had a hard time turning it off. He was very much aware of the existence of a greater reality at all times. But all of us are beautiful souls here and now. Just the fact that we're ignorant to that fact that allows us to hurt each other.
You know, it's interesting because I think a lot of people do have that ability to be aware of both sides.
Yes.
And a lot of people are afraid of that. So, and you just said you can turn it off. Now, is that because of your previous experience as a naval commander and just being so organized that you can say, okay, that's it, I'm done now? Because I think a lot of people are afraid to open up to the greater reality because then
Susan,
you get lost.
Once you tap into that reality and you feel the love that radiates from that vibration, from that dimension, there's nothing at all to be afraid of. And I actually pray every day now to open the veil even more, to allow me greater access. I have to do so with intention, and then when I shift my focus back here to being a normal human being, as normal as anybody would think I am at this stage in my life, then I'm no longer aware of the spirit world. It's a deliberate switch that I flip to be aware of those who are around us all the time, but most people just can't sense them.
So in the movie Messages of Hope, Suzanne, does it follow the journey of how you opened up to this unseen side?
That's exactly what the film is about. It shows some actual footage of mine from being in the very last airplane in the air on 9/11, some of the photos from that day. It shows me in uniform and shows exactly the kind of life that I led, and then it tells about the tragedy that led to my transformation, and that was unfortunately the death of my stepdaughter, Susan, who was a sergeant in the Marine Corps, age 27, when she was struck and killed by lightning. And that's what started me down this path. So we talk a lot about that in the film, and then show how it is that I discovered I have this connection to the other side. I think it will provide others the awareness that anybody can open up to this, and that's exciting to me.
And is it, well, I guess everybody's path is individual and different, but for you, was it, did you welcome this gift?
Oh, I welcomed it with such open arms because after our Susan passed, I was so curious to see if she still existed in spirit and if we could connect with her that I was able to take my very by-the-book destroyer-captain husband with me to see a medium.
Oh,
and
my
the
gosh.
evidence that medium brought through convinced me the spirit world is real. It's from that reading that I went down the path that I'm on now.
So I just got to ask, have you talked to people that were involved in the airplane crashes on 9/11 since they've passed over?
I've given readings to two people who had sons who were in the World Trade Center when it collapsed. That's the extent of my involvement with 9/11.
Okay. And I would imagine that must have been very comforting for them.
Pretty powerful.
Yeah, it was pretty powerful.
What's
globally.
really powerful, Susan, is that I have no idea that that's how they passed. I sit with a client and all of a sudden I'm aware of the presence of, say, a young man, and I tell the client that, and I say, this feels like your son, and he's showing me the World Trade Center, and he's explaining what happened that day, and it's completely accurate. This kind of thing just awes me, and I hope I never lose the awe at being able to connect people. That's why I feel so strongly about this work, because I know how incredibly healing that reading was for our family when we discovered that our Susan is still very much around us. And so to be able to sit with people and give others that kind of healing, that's why I consider this my new mission. I was very mission-oriented in the Navy, and now this is my mission. To show people this is real.
I have no doubt you're going to get your mission accomplished, Suzanne. And, it's just so, I always laugh at how the universe shows up for us. It's just, and the idea of surrender, that's something I'm working with in my personal life right now, of surrendering so that I can get to the next thing. And I just love how the universe shows up and says, yes, here it is, in ways you can't, it is. The human brain wants to have goals and wants to be task-oriented. It's the way that we feel grounded in this reality. But the unseen side of life is so much more fluid. And when we surrender, which is very much a military term, or it used to be, right? But when we spiritually surrender, the universe comes to us and gives us everything.
That's right, because when we stay focused on our human lives, we think we have the big picture, but we don't. So why wouldn't we go to help to those who have the big picture, who really do see how the pieces all fit together and want to serve the greater good? So the only goal we really ever need to set is I surrender to the greater good. Allow me to serve.
Allow me to serve.
And then life just flows.
I love that. So I have another question for you, because you call yourself an evidential medium. What does that mean?
Evidential medium is quite different from somebody who would say to you, oh, your grandmother is here and she loved you very much. That's a message, and that may be true, but it may not be true. So an evidential medium is one who will tell you, yes, your grandmother's here, and exactly how she died, and what kind of work she did, and what she was like, and what her favorite song was, that sort of thing. That's evidence. Those are things that the client can validate. Yes, that was true about my loved one, and you couldn't possibly have known that. To anybody who is mildly skeptical or even greatly skeptical, it's the evidence that brings people around to seeing, oh my goodness, this life is not all there is. So as one who comes from that left brain background, I love the evidence.
Oh, I bet. There's something else when you were just talking a few minutes ago about all the people that are on the unseen side. So I would imagine, just how does the work that you currently do? I'm trying to really get this question asked in an appropriate manner.
You've cut out, Susan. I can't hear you.
Okay. How do Christians? How do people react to what it is you do? Especially Christians. There's a whole belief system.
Well, as this film festival is sponsored by the Association for Global New Thought, and that is an organization that has more open-minded beliefs, not so much set in dogma. And I really resonate with people who are open-minded. So I have been sharing my messages with New Thought centers around the country. And so I have not tried to impose myself on anybody who would not be open to this. Those who are ready to hear these messages seem to show up at my workshops and events and at the movie showings. And so I've had a very, very positive reception from people because I deliberately don't try to force this on anybody whose beliefs it would not be in resonance with.
You are also a spiritual teacher. What is it that you teach? Are you teaching people how to become mediums, or?
I'm teaching people that we are all spirit beings now. We are all aspects of the one mind, of spirit, of the divine, and how anybody can expand their consciousness to become more aware of that, and how doing so brings much greater love into your life, much greater peace, and your life will just flow. It's a universal message, but one that too many people are just not aware of.
It's so funny because my peeps, the people I hang with, we're all aware of that. We're all aware of being interconnected, and it's often astounding to me that there are people that aren't aware.
Oh, I know. When I speak at these New Thought centers around the country, I sit at the Sunday services, and I turn to my husband and I say, why don't all people understand this? It's all about love. All about love. There's no fear. There's no
hate.
No
no
hate.
Anger.
Right.
No revenge.
The Messages of Hope film ends pretty much with that message, that it's all about our interconnectedness, and the reason that we're all here is to develop our divinity. And how do we do that? By learning to love each other.
Absolutely. So I'm curious, how do your former colleagues, what do they think of you at this point? How are they handling it?
There's a funny scene in the film, the Messages of Hope film, where I meet for lunch with a former colleague, and I'm stuttering and stammering as I'm explaining to him that I now sit in a darkened room and talk to dead people. And it's kind of comical, his reaction. He says, if it were anybody else, right now I would be asking for the check. But he remarks about my integrity and such things that he knew in the military. But most of my military colleagues, we've just drifted apart, and so most are probably not aware of what I'm currently doing. Although one of my former sailors did contact me, and she said, "Oh, Commander Giesemann, boy, has your life changed."
So, and you've written some books. You have a website that people can go to find out more about you and your books and everything.
Yes, thank you. It's either SuzanneGiesemann.com, which is a little hard for some to spell, so I made it easy. You can get to the same site by writing out loveatthecenter.com.
I love that website title. I love it. Yeah, because that's the bottom line truth, isn't it?
Isn't it? Yes, that's what this is all about.
So, I want to ask a question about in the mediumship that you do now. Have you seen and talked to? Have you seen or talked to like your stepdaughter, or?
Oh, I have. It's amazing. I'm looking at her picture now. Only about 4 times since she passed 8 years ago. And each time she came, I'm so aware that it's her, but I also know that I don't want our other family members to doubt my word. So each time I've put her to the test, and I say, Susan, I know this is you, but give us evidence. Tell me things going on in, say, your biological mother's life or your sister's life right now that I couldn't possibly know. And each time she has told me things, and after I come out of that expanded state that I'm in, I call her biological mom or her sister, and they verify, oh, how did you know that? And I said, because Susan's here, and she told me. It's beautiful.
So do they come to you and give you messages, or do you focus on a particular, like when you're working with a client, do you just focus on the client and then the people that were around that person come in? Or, I mean, how does that work? And do the people, are they just hanging out on the other side all the time, or do they go somewhere else?
Well, if you go to my website under this tab called Sanaya, Special Sessions with Sanaya is a beautiful explanation of what they're doing on the other side. That is information I got in meditation. It's fascinating. But those who come in a reading, I was taught when I studied with the best evidential mediums in England that I serve those in spirit first. So I simply, rather than saying we want to hear from this person's son, if they've told me who they want to hear from, I simply surrender once again to spirit and say, may the greater good be served by this reading. Whoever most needs to come through, May we hear from them, please. And often, maybe not often, quite a bit, we'll hear from a loved one that is the last person the client wanted to hear from because they had a contentious relationship. But that spirit comes through to make an apology.
And that happens
make
often.
Sense? Yeah. Of course they would want to take this opportunity. Suddenly they have a mouthpiece, a medium, and they can say what they didn't say while they were here.
Does something change within the individual as they move into the spirit world where they let go of all their jealousy, anger, hatred, blah, blah, blah?
Oh, very, very much so, but it's not instantaneous. I tell people in my workshops that you grow your angel wings here. This is why we're here, to raise our own vibration and become more loving. But you cannot help but become more loving when you pass to the other side because you're surrounded by love, and there is no judgment except of yourself. And so all of life, whether here or in the hereafter, is about the constant evolution of the soul. And part of that growth quite often is coming back from the other side, maybe through a medium, to make your amends, which is why I tell people, do that here, do that now, so you don't have to find a medium when you get to the other side.
So let me ask you one more question because we're almost ready to wrap up, Suzanne. What about, reincarnation? What about reincarnation? I mean, does everybody just stay on the other side once they cross over and they just do their thing, or do we come back again into this dual reality situation?
I will tell you that my own belief system has expanded quite a bit since I began doing this work because I used to have no belief in reincarnation, but I've had so much information come through from the other side that the spirit does, in a way, recycle itself, but that aspect of consciousness that was your loved one will remain accessible even if part of their spirit comes back to have another go of it in another form. So there's no worry on anybody's part that your deceased loved one will not be reachable. That aspect of them that you knew as a soul is always accessible.
Oh, I love that. Thank you, Suzanne.
You're welcome.
So the movie is Messages of Hope. It's going to be at the Awakened World International Film Festival Retreat, October. What day are you actually?
We're on the 30th.
On the 30th in the morning?
In the afternoon. I believe it's 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock.
Okay, so everybody can go to agnt.com and look at the film festival and when all the films are going to be screening and where. It's all happening in Santa Barbara from the 27th to the 30th. And check out Messages of Hope. Suzanne Giesemann, thank you so much. Again, I am deeply honored.
Well, Susan, and the fun part is I'm going to be present with the actual filmmaker, Chris Lavelle, and his mom from the film, so we get to enjoy that beautiful energy and sharing with everybody in person.
Awesome. And there's also going to be some sort of a workshop or something right after, yes?
That's correct, yes.
Awesome. I will be there. I'll come up and introduce myself.
Please do.
Yeah. Thank you, Suzanne. And you're listening to Living Your Inspired Life. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back.
Hi, this is Susan Burrell from Living Your Inspired Life. I always find it easier and more fun to expand my life by being connected to open-hearted, like-minded people committed to being on the same path I am. If you feel the same way, I suggest you visit a Center for Spiritual Living. There are wonderful communities in Ventura, Ojai, Santa Barbara, Oxnard, Pleasant Valley, Camarillo, and Westlake Village. You'll find terrific people, great information, and more tools to help you live the life you were born to live. So go to csl.org to find a center near you. That's csl.org for a center near you.
Welcome back to Living Your Inspired Life. I'm Susan Burrell, and today we are having filmmakers, actually for the next couple of weeks, come on the show to talk about their films because there is a new film conference that's happening in Santa Barbara the end of October, from October 27th to the 30th. It's called Awakened World International Film Festival and Retreat. And you can find out more about it by going to agnt.com. And find out what the schedule is and get up to Santa Barbara and see some of these amazing films. So joining me now is the filmmaker, director, producer of a movie called, I got chills. I already got chills. I can't even believe it. A movie called BridgeWalkers. And I want to say welcome to Cara Rhodes.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And so I wanted to say this on air, Cara. I am deeply grateful that you sent me the film to view before our conversation, and you had shared that there are moments that are pauses, within. It was a full-on experience. I really want everybody to go see this movie. So it was beautifully filmed. The message is deep, and I was different after. So thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for this work, because I know this work has taken a while to come to fruition, and it finally was done this year.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, it had its own birth process. And it did take a while. And also with the tribal elders, ceremony happens when it happens. Right. So when we got called, we just answered the call and showed up when we could.
Right.
And then, the invitations were there and we just kept filming them.
So the film is about Indigenous elders around the world, not just in America, around the world, that have come together to relate to the larger world the prophecies of their spiritual communities and the prophecy about Mother Earth, and that now is the time for us all to wake up.
Yes. It's prophecies, ancient truths that's there for all of us. And then the ceremonies that are woven within those, the wisdom they offer. And it's magic to see the gifts of these tribal elders, holy people of their lands. Yeah.
There was, I was very moved. There was an elder from Greenland.
Yes.
There were some elders from the Amazonian region. There was an elder from a Tibetan Buddhist, which, and then not to mention all the Native Americans and the ones that are in Canada. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, we were very fortunate because, as prophecy foretold, they would come from the four corners of the earth and gather. So that birthed in Greenland. That was where all elders came from all over the world, many different continents, and that was where we started. And from there, we were introduced to different elders, and with their humility and their grace, we just followed spirit where we felt we should go with these different elders. We met, and then went out into Canada, North America, South America.
So why the title, BridgeWalker?
BridgeWalker. Well, you're a BridgeWalker. Those people around the world, and like these tribal elders, who have bridged the mind to the heart to the land, and the land to all of us, to the one human family. So those are the BridgeWalkers. It was a word I heard before the film was even in its conception, but I knew, I held on to that word like, that's a title. I don't know what that title's for, but that's a title. And it was a word that was shared by a dear friend of mine through an Aboriginal gentleman in Australia.
Oh my gosh.
So I went BridgeWalker. Wow. Wonder where that's going to go, but
right.
Yeah.
So you hold on to bits and pieces. I can get that from you and your creativity. And so all of this came together by you pulling things together as the producer.
Truly, it was an absolute gift the whole way through. I had a friend, Susan Pelfrey, who held the vision of this film. She came to me because we both personally and passionately were involved with tribal ceremony and tribal elders. And then from there, when you follow your passion, things happen. Oh, so yeah. Follow your joy.
Right.
That's the best wisdom. As a mother, I always tell my kids, follow your joy and things happen. And so from there, truly, the Jim Whitney, my co-producer, I was introduced to some of the best editors, just the best musical people, and we all just gathered as our BridgeWalkers team, we like to call it.
Yeah, a pretty powerful team. I wrote down some stuff that the elders were talking about you guys touched all the bases in this film, I think, because there was the conversation about the abuse they had to endure once the white people came and took away, raped everything.
Yeah.
I mean, literally. And that they are still generationally, instead of holding the anger, they're healing within themselves. Absolutely. That is fascinating to me, because then their wisdom is that place where we whatever we look like now, I'm a white woman, where we can connect to their wisdom that anchors us to this planet and heals it.
Yeah. And really, thank you for getting that out of the film, because we all have wounds, and they so bravely came forward with these wounds, and I thought, this is a different film. I'm looking for ancient wisdom, but when we all look on our own spiritual paths we're on, going into the wounds is the way into the whole and healed heart, you know? And so when we can do that, and they showed me, these elders, I just kept seeing that they were going to share their wounds first, and then they were going to offer their gifts. And that's what happens in life. When we get underneath the wounds and we're able to heal through it, it's such a motivation to get to the gifts, because we've all got the gifts too, and that's universal. And when I got that in the film, I thought, thank you for letting me do this. I'm so grateful for having those aha moments where we went, absolutely, we're going to show the wounds, because we can't go forward until we understand where we all come from.
And that's hugely important. That was one of the gems.
Ngangkuk said that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And that's the recognition that creates the bridge to whatever the next yet to be is.
And that other piece too that Chief Darrell Bob said is that which we do not heal in this generation is left for the next. And I have that.
My goodness, I just got energy hit on that. Yes.
Yeah. And I have that on my desk because I mean, for my own family, that's my motivation for my children is, hey, what can I heal? What can I model that then can be released from my own lineage and then move forward? And that is the larger vision in the film. Whatever you get out of the film, you get out of it, but that is an umbrella piece. And so I'm glad you touched on that.
Yeah. Well, I'm going through a personal excavation,
sure,
if you will, and that's exactly what I'm attempting to do is move forward through the wounding,
sure,
while I'm healing the wounding and not being a walking wounded.
Yes.
And
that's it.
And it's a dedicated practice to do. You have to really get up every moment and say, I can do this.
Yeah. And that's where the tribal elders come in with ceremony, because everything is ceremony when you allow it to be that sacred time that we allow in our day or in our week or in our whatever celebrations we have, where we stop, we pause, we breathe. And that's what we did within the film. We created and filmed ceremony, but we came back to create the film as a ceremony. And I say that because we've got the heartbeat of Mother Earth in there from a scientist that was at the gatherings. I mean, she literally has a resonance that she measures, this beat that she feels, the drum beat that we all, is the oldest instrument, that goes so far back, is what they heard literally from what they would say Mother Earth. And, that's far-fetched for some, but literally a scientist at one of the ceremonies came in, Elizabeth Rauscher, she is like the female Einstein and of our time, and she showed the measure of the resonance of Mother Earth, and it was literally this drum beat, which you could go back to fetal heart tones. You could go back to our own beat, and you can go to the drum, which is what Indigenous people use to drop into the heart, and why they're always stopping to pause and drum. Because whenever we get into our heads a bit too much in circle, as we do, or in our day, they come back to that drum beat, and that's a beautiful thing. And people that come to the film, they'll see Ngangkuk. He will bring the wind drums, I will guarantee you, because he doesn't go anywhere without them, and he doesn't let anybody touch them. That's his medicine that he was offered from his ancestors, but he does offer them, and I can't say I can guarantee he will, but I'm pretty sure he will do something special with the wind drums when we're there after the Q&A. It's going to be, it makes my heart beat.
Yeah. And it makes so much sense to me about the drum beat, because everyone can relate to that.
Yeah.
It does if you, when I relax into that.
Yeah.
It does take me out of my head, completely out of my head, and I'm in my heart, I'm in my body, and I'm connected.
Yeah. And that's why I think when, Chief Darrell Bob or Dave Corshane of the Anishinaabe, all of these different leaders, when they do these gatherings, people come from all walks of life just to understand and learn something that feels like is missing in their world, whether it's a connection to the land or a connection to spirit, and they just watch, listen, learn to these elders, and then experience. And that's what we hope people get in the film, is the experience of ceremony. And we couldn't always film all of ceremony because there's some parts they won't allow you to film. But what we did is, the best we could is to offer what we experienced. So we hope people get that in watching the film.
When I was very, very young, probably about 5, my mom has relatives in Oklahoma, and we would do this road trip from California to Oklahoma. And I remember we stopped at some trading post, if you will, and there was an Indian ceremonial happening, and we watched it. And and at one point we were asked to move on because they could not share that with outsiders.
Sure. And that, it was only the mid-1970s where it became legal for them to share without being put in a way, which is...
Okay, wait, whoa, what do you mean?
Yeah, in Canada, I can say that much. I'm certainly not a historian, but I can say what I've listened and what I know to be true is that, and it's in the film, in the mid-1970s was when a law was finally passed that it was okay for them to come forward and share, because before that, they had been stripped of everything, and if they went on to their holy lands to do ceremony, they could be taken in to... Put in jail. Yeah, because that was not allowed.
God, talk about...
Because if you go back to colonization, when they got the drums out and they did ceremony, they were extremely powerful, and things started to happen, and then they
put the kibosh on that. Yeah. Isn't it fascinating how we just continue, we in the larger sense of we, continue to be afraid of things we don't understand instead of trying to understand it so that we can come into unity together. It's what a time we are living in. And for BridgeWalker to come out now, it's like, of course the universe said yes to this.
Yeah.
Big
yes.
It's fascinating. And who's the elder that's in Greenland that did a lot of the ceremony?
Ungankerswak.
So one of the things he talked about that just moved me was this idea of melting the ice in the heart of man, because he was talking about the ice melting in Greenland and all, around everywhere, and that actually that ice becomes the pure water from ancient times that will purify the entire world water system.
Exactly.
And melt the ice of the heart of man. That was beautiful.
He did. He went to the United Nations in the 1970s, and nobody was listening. The ice is melting. But when he said, until we melt the ice in the heart of man, that was when people started to pay attention. Then people could see that the ice truly is melting. As I saw, building sizes coming down when we were filming. Yeah. It was earth shaking, shattering.
Wow.
Because we were camping on the earth. I mean, we were right there, and it was happening. And, people say that's not happening and that's conspiracy, but it's true. I was there, and I welcome everyone to go up there and see that it's, the ice is melting.
And
it's not to be, they don't share it fearfully.
They see it as something that's positive.
Is that it can potentially be this beautiful cleanse in which we all awaken to the pulse rhythms of Mother Earth and our own inner world. Once we can see as you know, Susan, once we've taken a hard look at our inner world, we can see that outer world and what's going on around us. Where can we be of service? What is our deepest purpose? And I do think people get that from the film, from that ancient wisdom that the tribal elders freely offer to all.
There was something else that another gentleman spoke of about giving first.
Yeah, the giveaway.
The giveaway.
Beautiful.
Native Americans, but indigenous people, they live in community, and so it's always about taking care of everyone in that community.
Yes.
And so what can I give that then will help these people, this community, and that as you give, you do receive. It returns to you.
That's true. It's beautiful. And I saw that time and time again at every tribal gathering. There was a Peruvian man, actually a beautiful holy man, that came up from Peru up to Canada to be a part of the sharing that was going on up in Canada. And every time he took a drink, and I just watched this out of the corner of my eye, this wasn't on the film, but he always offered it to either a tree nearby or the earth, and then he took a drink. And I thought, That's connection.
Wow, what an amazing practice that would be, especially right
Just
now.
an offering, and always at gatherings, always an offering to Creator. Always a plate was made for Source Energy, Creator, whatever we want to call that beautiful power that made us all. And then we ate. And also, actually, and then the elders ate. Always the oldest people go first. And that's another beautiful respect piece. So to the earth, to the elders, and then the young people get that respect piece. It's just natural. The way they're shown that.
Modeled.
Yeah.
It's modeled. Yeah, I was in the film in BridgeWalker. There was that piece about the elders going into the center of the circle first.
Yes.
And I thought about my own parents and how am I honoring or not them, and it definitely makes you think about all sorts of areas of your life watching this film.
Yeah. I've changed my life entirely. It cracked my heart wide open, and I just went, oh my gosh, there was so much more that I could offer my children with this tribal wisdom as the foundation.
Right.
Yeah.
So do you have ceremony in your life now because of all of that?
I do. We had ceremony in the editing room making this film. We put it into everything. Everyone that came together for this film, we would stop. We would connect to the heart of the earth, the heart of Source and Sage. And then we would ask what we should do. We didn't assume we knew. Truly, I didn't come from a film background. I'd like to say that, too, to everybody out there. I didn't come from a film background. I came from a passion for the wisdom that led me into making film. And that's an interesting place to come from. So I didn't have all the knowledge. I asked Source. I really did a lot of praying about this, like the elders always show us, what do I do next? What do you want? What do you want in this film? And then I just waited and watched and listened. And then the answers came. And with great people like Jim Whitney, who did the same thing. Yeah. And our writer, I mean, the written word in this is so magnificent.
It's beautiful.
And that's Don Cirillo. And then, everyone involved. Our editor is unbelievable as well. Leslie Dong. She wove hundreds of hours of film, hundreds.
The way the images come and go, it's exquisite. It's just gorgeous. Yeah. So,
and these are all local people too. I am mentioning names because
it.
I'm like, these are local people. These are some great Ojai and Santa Barbara people, and they have created this film. And I was blessed to have them in our circle, our sacred circle, that created this film. So, yeah, it was a whole birth process with a lot of.
So I have a feeling there in the editing there might be pieces that were left. It kind of feels like, Cara, that there's going to be possibly a secondary.
Yeah.
Thing to this, because some of the stuff you like talking about the scientists that came, it sounds like there's a whole bunch of other things.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what we've started with here is like Indigenous 101, if you will.
Okay.
But, I say that, but if you are, someone who knows tribal wisdom, it's still, it's powerful. It goes as deep as your heart is open to. But it's the foundation piece. And then from there, we're going to go deeper into each. And I've already got a short doc on Angankak, which was one of the major themes. He was a big piece that really bookended the film.
Yes.
With the prophecy of the ice is melting and the trees are going back after 20,000 years. Science says this.
Yeah.
So when we offered that up, we went, the short doc is immediate. We went right into his shamanism piece. So that's going to come out really soon.
Now, you guys have a website. You want to tell everybody what it is?
Yes. OneRiverProductions.org. So www.oneRiverProductions.org. Productions is plural.
Now, is the DVD of the film going to be for sale?
Yes. You know what? We are setting up our PayPal right now. So this film will be ready in the next week. Okay. So that's exciting for us too.
That's awesome.
We want everyone to have this, and it's going out. There's a European version as well with German subtitles, because when it went to Europe, people there wanted this.
It's fascinating.
It was beautiful.
I have in fact, I have a friend from England who, when she came to America, she just wanted to live on the land, and it was all about the Native American and ceremony and everything. And having grown up here, and I do have a little bit of, a 1/16 of in my bloodstream. But I, having grown up here, I was like, oh no, that I want to honor them by not pushing my, stepping into their powwows or whatever.
Sure.
And she was like, no, I want to be in it with these people because I want to learn from them.
Yeah.
So Europe is absolutely craving this
Yes,
stuff.
they are. They have a Native American Day in Germany. Everyone stops and absolutely celebrates them. And
wow, that's wonderful.
Yeah, and it keeps going back. Ngangkuk is taking it all over Europe. And I try and show up when I can, but he's unbelievable. And so Italy, Switzerland, Austria, Germany just has embraced this.
I'm looking forward to the other pieces that are going to come out of this film to hear what else has been foretold and what else is being said and uncovered. It's almost like when the Dead Sea Scrolls showed up, those portions of the Bible that got extricated, and now all of a sudden in the middle of the 20th century they're showing up. It's like, who knew? But here are, and thank God for the ancient people that continued the lineage regardless.
And held on to the ancient truth.
Right.
That is for all of us, and that's so powerful. And that's, my personal quest is just to continue finding this ancient truth.
It feels like it's another step on the spiral, or a completion of another circle.
Exactly.
And how fabulous we get to observe it and participate in it.
Absolutely.
And, so there's one more thing that you talked about, or the film talked about, was also the recognition of the rites of passage for young people into. Now, to me, I've heard of this stuff. I've witnessed it. Right, there might be people out there that are listening to this that don't really understand what that means. But in the Native tradition, when you achieve puberty, when you reach puberty, you are now initiated into an elderhood, the next level of your life, right?
Yeah. Adulthood. And with that, they want to mark that by for the boys especially, and it's different for each tribe. But for the Anishinaabe that we ended up filming, natives and non-natives alike, young people that came together for the ceremony of the rites of passage, they would be initiated by Mother Earth herself, and that's the deep message in the film: is that these young boys that we did film, and we filmed women in a different way, because for the Anishinaabe, they say that's built into our heart drive. Mother Earth is within us, and creation is within us. And so for the men, they take the men to really honor them by having that relationship with the land and with themselves, because when we get quiet enough, we can really hear, that connection piece. And so these young boys, again, we could not film everything, but we filmed the essence of their connections to the earth. And when they came back off that land, what changed within them? And it's powerful to see, because when we honor young people, and I actually did the initiation at 45, and I went in with the women and did the sweat lodge initiation, which is like going into the womb of Mother. And we went in there. It doesn't matter what age you are. If you have not been celebrated at whatever age, when you are, you really truly embrace that my voice, my heart matters, my voice matters, and I have something to share in this lifetime. And what that is often revealed in ceremony, because we get just quiet enough and just connected enough to hear that deepest part of our soul. Our souls, offering. Yeah. So that, the ceremonies for young people, I think, is absolutely exciting, and for my own children as well. So I try to incorporate that in my own way. They offer their gifts, and they say, you don't have to do it our way or this way. It's just celebrate those rites of passages, mothers at birth, offering that birth piece, that creation to the world, that new soul to the world, celebrate with ceremony. That's all. There are so many times, marriage, of course we celebrate with ceremony. Death, I would hope we celebrate with ceremony. Yeah. These are the things that tribal elders absolutely embrace and celebrate in the deepest way, in connection to the earth and our reasons for being here.
I know that I have a son, a 20-year-old son, and in raising him with the parents, all the other parents, we've had this conversation of how we want to teach our young men to become open-hearted men in the world, and we were often having the conversation that there was no rites of passage anymore. There's unless you're in a particular faith, like in Judaism, there's a bar mitzvah, now a bat mitzvah, mitzvah. But unless you're involved in something like that, there is no rite of passage to now say, now you are a man, now you are a woman, and it is time for you to look to how are you going to be responsible in the world? How are you going to show up?
Yeah.
And the ceremony, the idea of ritual or ceremony is hugely important.
Yeah.
You know, nowadays our kids get a car, you know, or they get their driver's license. They think that has become a rite of passage now.
I know.
As opposed to being connected within yourself when you're...
And that's where BridgeWalkers comes in too, where it differentiates between materialism, which I myself have gotten lost in, and spiritual. You know, the material and the spiritual world. And when we can actually see the difference between those two and the clarity within, you know, oh, gosh, I'm a bit in the material world. I'm a bit lost today. I think I'll get out on the trail, you know, and go get connected and come back anew to be the mom I would like to be. You know, those moments of just, hey, I'm, you know, a moment of reflection to go and connect with the land and spirit. That is what Chief Arvo Looking Horse, you know, who is so powerful, of the Lakota that's in the film. That's just so simple, but that is what it is in each day. Stop and go connect.
Yeah.
And so, you know, those rites of passages can be a big deal at 16, or it can be a daily practice, you know, that we just go and connect and we celebrate who we are and what we're going to do just in this moment and then move. So I love the elders for reminding me ceremony and putting their children in the center.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the other piece. It starts with that of the kids.
Yeah.
And that was beautiful to me because there are children are our future. I tell my son that all the time. He's in college. Mom, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know if I want to graduate from college because I don't know what I want to do. And I keep saying, it doesn't matter that you don't know what you want to do right now. I know that your place here on this planet is for something really awesome. So just keep putting one foot in front of the other.
Exactly. And that's what I love, what you just modeled. It's just, I believe in you. When we just say, I believe in you, or we just respond in that way that says, I believe in you, that's what these teenagers are looking for. I believe in you.
Yeah.
You don't have to have all the answers. Just follow your joy and know that you have gifts and a connection to being here on this beautiful earth.
You know, Cara, one thing also that touched me in the BridgeWalker film was the way that people greeted each other. There was a very, not just heart to heart, but there, you know, I saw people putting their foreheads to each other, you know, and lots of hugging, but which I'm a hugger, but just the way that they showed respect to one another and people from foreign countries, you know, we're not all in the same country, but we're of the same human family. And that was beautiful.
Those were the Maoris that did that. Love them. I still connected with them. And they did just a circle to show them how they greet. And, you know, in Algonquin, when he comes, you know, he breathes in the smell of who you are, the Eskimo, the Kalaalleq Eskimo, you know, that's what they do. And it's interesting once we just see all the different beautiful ways we can connect. And that forehead to forehead, that's the Maori. That's really, you know, I see you literally with the third eye connecting there.
I had the great opportunity this summer to go to Kauai and we were hiking in a rainforest with a guide, and we were supposed to be hiking to this waterfall, but we stopped in the middle of this rainforest, and there we saw where there had been ancient terraces to garden and grow food and everything. And he said, do you want to hear the story about this, or do you want to just get to the waterfall? And we all went, no, tell us. And it was all about the circulation of life. It was about how the ancient indigenous people on that island respected and were so connected to the earth. And he said, you know, we talk about sustainability now like it's something that we've never done. He said, but my people have done it for eons because we understand how connected we are to the planet and to the earth. And that's the truth.
That's it right there.
Paying attention, just paying attention. That's it, right?
Yeah, it's so beautiful. Yeah, and sharing like he did. I love that.
So BridgeWalkers is going to be airing on, remind me, what day?
October 30th at 9:30 in the morning at the Unity of Santa Barbara, which is 227 East Arriaga Street.
Oh, and you could even pronounce that. I can't pronounce that. Thank you. Yeah, so the 30th, and then afterwards there's going to be a question and answer, but also a little bit of ceremony, yeah?
Yeah, they've asked us, Barbara Fields, I just want to give a huge thumbs up.
Barbara Fields, the executive director of AG&T,
yes,
Association for Global New Thought.
Yes, and who's initiating this new festival, Conscious Film Festival, Awaken World International Film Festival. These are popping up all over the world, but this is the first in Santa Barbara, and this is exciting. And I just applaud her that she's bringing in very exciting films, and I'll be the first to be watching all the other films as well.
Okay, so everybody go to agnt.org. I misspoke earlier. It's .org, not .com, and you can see what the schedule is for the Awaken World Film Festival. So Cara Rhodes, thank you for joining me and sharing your gift with the world. So I'm just going to say, and so it is, namaste.
Yeah, namaste to you too. Thank you.